Rev up your engines!
All right, Ford's at it again with lack of quality. Ford is recalling 90,736 vehicles over engine valve issues. The valves open and close to let fuel in, block the gas when they fire, and then exhaust fuel goes out. And if they break, your engine goes kaput, right? Well, Ford doesn't seem to be able to even make those correctly anymore. This recall is for 21 to 22 Bronco, F-150, Edge, Explorer, Lincoln Nautilus, and Lincoln Aviator engines that have the 2.7 or 3-liter Nano Ecoboost engines. Now, here's what they do, and this is always the kicker. It's a recall, right? But it's such baloney. As part of the remedy, dealers will perform an engine cycle test and replace the engine as necessary. Yeah, engine cycle test. Okay. What they're basically doing is a compression test, or they're listening to it, right? The compression's okay. Yeah, the valve springs, if they're working, the compression's fine until they break. If they got bad valves, they should have to replace everything. If they need to, they will replace the engine. Notice they're not taking them apart. If necessary, they got to replace them. So they're only going to replace the ones that are physically broken now. They're all going to break eventually, right? Then you're stuck with an engine with a broken valve. Going to cost you thousands of bucks for a new engine or to fix it, if it's even fixable. Because once they break, metal pieces get in the engine, they can destroy everything, right? So, if you own one, by all means, take it in. But they'll probably tell you, now there's nothing wrong with yours. Their usual BS, because they don't want to spend any money fixing anything. They should be just like Toyota. They should be forced to replace every stinking one of those engines. Toyota's replaced 100,000 of their V6s. Ford should do the same thing. Well, some of these police stations are trying to use Teslas. Well, the Menlo Park Police Department disagrees. They were trying out a Tesla Model Y, and they say it's far from being the ideal police vehicle. It didn't do what they wanted. Didn't have the room for fully functional policemen and their weapons to fit in. And of course, they found out that this crazy setup takes forever to figure out pushing all those buttons, right? They can't be looking at a screen pushing buttons while they're chasing after somebody. And then they found out that the lighting system doesn't work, right? It'll automatically shut itself off after a while. Cops are at night looking at something. They run out of the car, leave the lights on. Last thing they need is the light to turn it off, right? I mean, these things are not ready for prime time. And of course, you see the police chasing after people. They go over curbs, they run around ditches and stuff. You can't do that with a Tesla. It will be destroyed. It is so low to the ground. The battery's on the bottom. End of story. Take a regular gasoline car. They can be fixed and repaired. These things pretty much, they get in any kind of a mid-sized, even a small wreck. They're often totaled. And of course, let's face the facts. Do the guys in the police repair garage know how to fix these things? Of course they don't. Do they have the equipment to work on them? Of course they don't. Yeah, and it's going to be great. Like if you owned a Tesla, you know anybody who has, they get in a wreck, they might be waiting 3 months for parts. Can the police wait 3 months for parts? Of course they can't. They bought 3 of them. 2 of them they use, and 1 of them they keep as a spare to use when the other ones aren't working. But they decided, no, we're not going to do this again, and they're sending them back. They don't want them anymore. And then they make up lies. Another police department in Wisconsin, they said a Tesla Model Y Cruiser could save $84,000 over 10 years compared to a Ford Explorer Cruiser with a hybrid powertrain. Yeah, save money. 10 years. Let's see these things running in 10 years. Like if they get one little wreck, that's it. They're done for. Then that's the end of the vehicle, right? And now they are comparing them to a pretty crappy car. The Ford Explorers that they use for the police, the Ford Explorer Pursuit models that they make are piles of garbage. I know policemen, they hate them. They say, hey, bring us up back our old Crown Victorias. We hate these. So they're comparing it to a crappy vehicle to begin with, but saying it's going to save $84,000 over 10 years, how the heck do they know? They just got them. They've had it for 10 years. The only way you could do a study like that is run it for 10 years and said, here's the cost. And they'd find out that they were probably $200,000 in the hole. When they wreck, they got to buy another one, or they got to get them fixed, and they don't work, or they have 6 months of downtime every year when they're being fixed and you can't get parts for them. People are finding out these things aren't ready for prime times. The Mounties said the same thing in Canada. They said, we don't want them. How are we going to chase people? We're going to run out of electricity. It's cold. They stop working. No. 1590926 says, I have a Kia Sportage with all 6 cylinders misfiring. It's got interesting history. This engine was taken out of the same year and model rollover car to replace an engine that had a timing belt break that destroyed the engine. I had all 6 plugs, all injectors replaced, timing belt kit put in. Drives fine, but sometimes it has a rough idle. If they're all showing that there's misfiring, all of them, there's a problem that affects them all. So, It could be a mass airflow sensor. It could be a crank sensor. It could be a cam sensor that's starting to go out. You said it came from the same year and the same model, so that should be okay. All the sensors and everything should be in the same place, arranged in the same one. But it's a used engine from a rollover. Here's what I would start with. Have a mechanic like me do a wet and dry compression test of all 6 cylinders. We take out the spark plugs, put a compression gauge, take them off. If your engine is worn out, it will show low pressure in the cylinders. And if they're all worn out, say it's just a worn out engine, every single cylinder will be, maybe it had 200,000 miles on it. Every single cylinder will have low pressure, and you'll have misfires on every single one of them. They never wear perfectly evenly. So when you do the test, if you find that, one cylinder's 50 pounds low, one's 40, one's 80 pounds low, that's why you're getting random misfires. Now, you could look at the misfire data or have a mechanic like me look at it, and you'll probably find that some cylinders are misfiring more than others. They have counters. And our fancy equipment will look 486 misfires on cylinder number 1. Cylinder number 2, maybe it only has 82, meaning it's not quite as one. Start there. Well, finally, people are coming to their senses. In Michigan, they're bringing back a shuttered nuclear power plant, and it's going to be operating by 2025, they say. They shut it down. They were getting paid money to knock the whole thing down. Now they realized, hey, it's not that bad. We need energy. Let's get it rolling up again. They never had any problems with that. They were just decommissioning it. Well, now they're going to recommission it. We need electrical energy. The tide is turning that all these greenies of, we don't like nuke. It's bad. It's not bad. It creates power. It doesn't pollute that much. The other day I was floating down the river in Cumberland River here. They have one of the biggest coal plants in the United States. They put out soot. They have scrubbers and stuff, but they don't take a lot of the stuff out. They take some of the sulfur out, but you're still getting all kinds of particulates and pollution and heat coming out. That doesn't occur when you have a nuke plant. So finally, these people are realizing, hey, we better start going nuke, maybe fix up some of our old ones. This is going to come online 2025. That's in 1 year from when I'm making it right now. We can't wait for electricity. That's the problem that they're having now. They started shutting down coal-fired electric plants, but now they're finding that we can't shut them down too fast, because if we do, we don't have anything to replace them with. So maybe get some of these old nukes going again. They're making a new nuke in Tennessee, but it's going to take a long time. They've got the planning, but they got to build it and set it up, and that can take 8-10 years or whatever. We need the power now. Maybe they need to go back to some of these old ones, get them running again, like they're doing in Michigan. Well, Brazil is now blocking Twitter, or X, whatever you want to call it, after Elon Musk ignored their court orders. Now, it seems to be a combination of 2 things: money and politics. The Brazilians are saying they told Elon he's got to block certain accounts that were too right-wing. They don't like conservativeness, I guess, there. And he refused, so now they say they're going to block it. And they also said that if you sneaky Brazilians use VPNs to secretly look at Twitter or X, that he can fine you $9,000 a day for that. Well, Elon says, hey, it's supposed to be a democracy, it's supposed to have freedom of speech. Well, I never read the Brazilian Constitution, so I don't know what they're actually allowed to do there, but it is another country. And, of course, as I say, it has to do with money, because now he is saying that he's frozen assets on the Starlink stuff that Musk runs, because they can use those assets to put money in the bank for the Brazilian government. We got a combination of money and politics. They don't like the conservative stuff, but they still want money, right? Now, you might think, well, freezing this Starlink stuff isn't that big of a deal. Who cares? Well, there's like over 250,000 Brazilians that are subscribed to the Starlink. So that's a lot of money, right? And it always comes down to moolah. Let's face the facts, right? And Elon says, I'll fight them, and if they don't stop doing this, I'll give the Starlink away to people. I won't charge them any money for it. Yeah. Well, because, of course, you realize I don't think the Brazilian government would be able to block the Starlink satellites. It's probably too complex for them to do. And, of course, here's their excuse. They always make up lies. Everybody at court makes up lies. Courts are mainly 2 sides. They're each lying about something, right? Well, in this case, the Brazilians say, we're blocking access to X because the company lacks a physical presence in Brazil. They don't have a physical presence there, right? And they just use that as an excuse to block them, right? So, I mean, hey, it's another country. Maybe they don't have freedom of speech. I don't know. I don't know their constitution. I never read the Brazilian constitution, but hey, they're going after poor old Elon because he won't stop people from saying conservative things. No, they don't seem to care about the liberal stuff at all, but it's another country. right? There's 200 million people in Brazil, a lot of people there. A lot of poor people, too. You haven't been to Rio de Janeiro, those poor people living up in the hill. It's not the greatest place on earth to live. I know people who live there, they got to have bodyguards for their kids so they don't get kidnapped. So, hey, I wouldn't care if I left Brazil because I'm never going there. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.